The next taping that we're going to do is a thumb spica. So this is something we would use for a thumb sprain, and it's important to note that the thumb has a lot more mobility than we see in our other fingers. Our other fingers only move in one direction, so we only need to stabilize them in one direction. The thumb has a lot more mobility and more degrees of freedom, so we need to stabilize it in a few more directions. We also want to include the wrist as we're stabilizing the thumb. So we're going to start off with our pre-wrap, and we'll start off with the anchor strips just like we saw with the basic wrist tape. So we're going to go ahead and put them in a position kind of with their fingers together and like they're giving you a thumbs up. Okay. We're going to start on the wrist and apply our pre-wrap. As I get up to the back side of the thumb, I'm going to go ahead and take my finger and poke a hole through the pre-wrap and put their thumb through the hole. Then I'm going to cover over the base, come up between the hand, and then come back down over the wrist. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with those anchors. So go ahead and make a fist. Good. You can put your thumb down. Good. Turn your hand this way. Good. So you can see here my pre-wrap is starting to roll just a little bit. You're getting this little bit of a wrinkle. So what I'm going to do, instead of having to completely reapply my pre-wrap, I'm just going to pinch that and pull it off, and that'll allow my pre-wrap to lay nice and smooth again. So you just grab the wrinkle or the roll where it's rolled up and pull that part off. So I'm going to do one more anchor. So we usually do kind of between 2 and 4 anchors depending how far down the wrist you've started your tape. Okay. So there's our anchor strips on the wrist. Now we're going to do an anchor through the hand. So go ahead and give me this position. Good. So I'm going to tear off a strip, and then I'm going to go ahead and pinch in the middle of the tape. So I'm going to take my strip, and I'm going to fold one edge over and create kind of a softer spot there in the middle of the tape. I'm going to put that on the webbing of the thumb so we don't irritate the hand so much. And I'm going to lay my strip down on the back and across the front. So go ahead and turn your hand over. Good. Okay. So now these are all of our anchors. So now we're going to do our spica strips on the thumb. So again, I'm going to, just like we did with our finger buddy taping, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tear it in half. Again, I want the edge that I tore down towards the webbing of the hand. So here, I'm going to start in the middle of the thumb. I'm going to place my tape on the inside of the thumb. Then I'm going to take my left hand, wrap it around to the front side or the palm side, my back hand, and wrap it around to the back side. So what we see here is that we have a strip that makes a complete X. It kind of looks like a breast cancer strip, okay? So the one that started on the front goes to the back, and the one that starts on the back goes to the front. So again, starting in the middle, our strip that's on the front is going to come around to the back, and the strip that's on the back is going to come around to the front. Now we want our strips to cross right on that thumb joint. So we want it to kind of cross as close to the thumb as we can get it, and we're going to work our way up the thumb, so our X's should slowly come a little bit higher, okay? We also want to make sure as we're taping that we keep our thumb in a nice neutral position, okay? If you're applying too much tension to one side or the other, the thumb is going to move inwards or outwards, and we don't want to change that position. So we did 2 strips starting in the middle of the thumb. Now we're going to do 2 strips starting on the front, and then 2 strips starting on the back of the thumb. So again, we take our piece of tape, tear it in half. So now we're going to do 2 strips starting on the front. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to come to the front of the thumb. Same thing, I'm pulling around to the back. We don't want to apply a lot of tension to these strips. We're just going to lay them down, and then from the front, we're going to come all the way around the back side. Again, starting on the front. Again, just laying the strips down, not applying a lot of tension. And we can see here how the X is starting to work its way up the thumb, okay? So our first two strips ended about here, and now we're up here. So we're moving our way up the thumb just a little bit. So now we're gonna do two strips that start on the back. So starting on the back side, again, this time we're going to pull around to the back side first, and then the front. With this strip, you may end up more on that anchor that's on the palmer side, so you can see how this one came across a little bit more and is actually coming to the anchor on the palm instead of on the wrist, and that's okay. Starting on the back side again, we're going to pull around, not applying very much tension, and then pulling around to the palmer side. Okay, so now we've stabilized the joint from 3 different directions and in 3 different ways. Again, our thumb should be pretty close to in that same neutral position as when we started. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do our lock strip. So just like we did with our anchors, we're going to start on the wrist. This time I'm going to start closest to the hand instead of further up the wrist. So I'm going to apply my first lock strip closer to the hand. Okay. Now I'm going to apply a lock strip through the palm. Again, I'm going to fold that edge over just like we did before. Place that edge kind of along the thumb, coming across the palm down to the wrist, and across the back of the hand down to the wrist. And now I'm going to close over the thumb. So I'm going to start at the base of the thumb, go from my anchor on the back side of the hand, come across to the palm. It's a little bit long. So I went from the back side of the hand and I came across here to the palm, okay, across the base of the thumb. So then I'm going to do the same thing again, closing in across the base of the thumb. Good, and then one more time. So on this third one, you'll see some people bring this across and kind of pinch in between to create a little bit more closure there. That's a personal preference, but we just want to close across all of our Spica strips on the thumb.